be going now. So, welcome everyone to the June monthly All Hands Hurricane Edition tonight. We're going to be hearing from a lot of the different functional areas about what their main roles are for hurricane season, how they help out, how they get things done. And that's going to be our real focus tonight is all things hurricane. Um, just checking to make sure that everybody that should be here is here. We'll go ahead and get it started. So here's our agenda. We're going to go over just an outlook with some opening remarks and vision from our VP of Operations, Jeff Byard. We're then going to go into some lessons learned from last season, functional updates. We've got some new staff on our team, so welcoming them, plus some upcoming attractions, some leader recognition, and then our leadership wrap up. So without further ado, I'm going to kick it over to Jeff Byard to get us going.
Hey, thanks, Jim. Thanks, team. I don't know how much I can give you on the hurricane outlook. There's gonna be one, and it's gonna hit somewhere, and it's gonna tear a bunch of stuff up, and we're gonna respond. So that's the hurricane outlook for 2022, and there'll probably be multiple. You'll hear a lot of stuff tonight. First of all, let me say, one, thank you for being on the call. Thank you for doing what you do and being ready. It's game time, right? This is the South Branch does a lot. Team Rubicon does a lot, but these things happen in our backyards, and I say ours, even though I'm in Virginia. I always, and y'all have heard me say it before, I love briefing the South Branch and talking to the South Branch because you can understand me, and I can understand you. Everywhere else, I just kind of nod my head, and they nod their head, and we move on. So it's good to be back around those of us that speak correct English. So good for that. So, a couple of things from my vantage point. We had an outstanding 4 days, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday down with the Ops Support Branch at our National Operations Center in Dallas. I can tell you this, as we continue to build on that preparedness cycle, next year's hurricane exercise, we'll have a lot of you engaged in that. Those of you that can be, we will expand that out to certain states. So, the future is bright with the exercise component that we are building. We had Greg Ramoni and his merry band of exercise evaluators. Most of you will know, Sam Brokenshire, Bobo was there. There's good folks all the way around. One of the things that we're gonna really focus on this year is that as the quote from Mike Watkins is up here that he, brought us together down in Dallas, is that continuity of support. As hurricanes come on shore, they're going to hit your backyard, our backyard, as we know, but they don't stop there. So you'll see tonight. If not, we'll get it to you. Kind of what that the Unified Coordination Group and on down looks like. We'll just build and expand on that team. My ask of the full team is think about, where if you don't know something, somebody does. We got to communicate early and often, when we deal with these. But I am convinced and confident that Team Rubicon will always answer the call. From a planning perspective, I'm a pretty simple guy. I look at all plans. I've been asked for doing this. Do we have a plan for this? Do we have a plan for that? What's our plan for the, no notice? What's our plan for notice? I'll break it down to real simple terms. We're going to gain and maintain situational awareness. We're going to take that information, and it's going to create action. We're going to do something. We're going to either activate, notify, mobilize. We're going to establish a footprint in the field, and then we're going to deliver the aid that we know how to deliver to those that are hurting that day and continuing. So I always base all of our plans off of those four components, and I know that we're going to do that well. Really pleased with the team from top to bottom, and excited to see all of you, or a good portion of you, out in the field this year as we move through hurricane season. Jim, those are unscripted remarks, and as I know, do that too often. But before we get going, as I always do, I'll pause there for any questions from anybody on the team. I don't want to hijack the agenda, so we can be quick, but always open for any questions from the team. And I cannot see hands, so you just may have to yell at me. Perfect. Jen, I look forward to a even better peanut butter sandwich this year, and boiling hot somewhere. So
I'm on it.
Perfect. Well, thanks, team. I appreciate you letting me. I'm going to stay on as long as I can, and I've got to drop for another meeting. But I really appreciate everybody getting on. Appreciate what you do day to day, always. So thank you so much, Jim. I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, appreciate it, Jeff. As you see on the screen, pretty impactful quote that a lot of us heard probably a few times over the last week. Coming from Mike Watkins, the director of the North Branch. Drew told me not to fuck this up and give him my best Clint Eastwood, aka Mike Watkins. I'm probably not going to be able to do it nowhere near as well as he can. But when speaking about, borders and whose metros and whose geo areas and whose states are whose and whose functions are what, it's not my Team Rubicon. It's not y'all's Team Rubicon. It's fucking Team Rubicon. It's everybody's Team Rubicon. We're all in this together. We need to think of large-scale operations as a continuity of support. So a hurricane's not just going to hit one metro. It's not just going to hit, necessarily one state. Those things move. It's not necessarily just going to hit one geo area or even one branch. So we have to think about this on a larger scale. We have to let go of some of those Legos and some of those dividing lines that separate us from the next geographic area beside us, and make sure we're all working together, again, in that one team, one fight mentality. So as we go through the presentation tonight, as some of the functional teams present out on what they do to help and how they're preparing themselves for hurricane season, keep this quote in your mind. And again, all this stuff at the end, probably tomorrow morning, will get shared out with all of you. So if you want to go back, pull anything from any of the stuff you're about to see, everything will be shared out with you then. So we're going to go on next to the lessons learned from last year's hurricane season. And I'll kick it over to Oscar to take this one.
Hey, good evening. My name's Oscar. I get to work with South Branch Field Readiness, and it's really great. And I get to work with a lot of you all, which is even better. A number of you all could give some good lessons learned. So I'd just like to share a few from my perspective the last couple of years, having been involved in some of the front end things of hurricane responses. First of all, it begins with many different voices going around. I mean, you'll hear and you'll see different chats and channels and texts and messages and emails, and you hear a lot of things. It'll be different call outs. Come here, do this, do that. You'll make some decisions, and you'll wonder if you should make some decisions. Then something will change in the middle of you trying to make a decision. It can be frustrating. However, kind of like what Jim was saying earlier, it is something to hang tough through. It is, you assume positive intent. There's lots of good people, just like you and me, trying to do lots of good things. And there's things I know and there's things I don't know. And it's same with everyone else. But everyone's trying to do good things, trying to bring this together. But that's just the beginning. And then comes the recon phase. And what you need to understand is recon and advon in a hurricane looks different than in a basic operation where it's two or three people in a truck. Let's go over here. Let's stay in a hotel. Let's talk to some people. Okay, that's cool. No. You see the word austere here 3 times. Austere roughly means anything that you take for granted is no longer there. Anything that you consider a comfort is no longer there. You'll have food, you'll have water, you'll have the means to survive, but if it's comfortable, it's not for you and it's not there. It is about finding and reporting damaged areas, and you have to find them. That's good, but more importantly, you have to report them. or no one will know and no one will care what you found if you don't tell anyone. So you need to tell people. Now you need to know you're not the only show in town. Unlike different recons, there's multiple recon teams, there's multiple hazards, multiple cities, multiple unknowns. It can be physically and emotionally draining. It can be hazardous. There was a time we were driving and I've got my head down on the laptop trying to report something, and my teammate halts the truck in the middle of this 2-lane road. And I said, "What are you doing?" And right in front of us, about maybe 12 inches away, there's a high tension electric, death calling you wire just across, ready to take our heads off. And that's just the way it is. I remember one time recon getting out, going to look at some houses, and what do I smell? That is gas. And there's a lot of gas all around here. Nope, time to leave. So while that is there, you will see lots of things and you will want to help lots of people, but you will not be able to help them. Your job is to find and report. So you need to be prepared for that. That's how it can be emotionally draining. Or maybe you're like an Advon person. I think last year, especially, we did great on Advon, had a separate Advon team, about 20 people, about a dozen vehicles went out to look for Advon. Now, Advon is about finding and preparing billets, okay? You cannot prepare billets. No one can come in and help anyone unless you find billets. Is that a little bit of pressure? You bet it is, but that's okay. That's all good. And you'll have multiple options. You'll have multiple calls. We spent much of the morning before we ever got on the road just calling places. Knock helped us out and gave us a list. People knew stuff, people knew people, and you just have to find one place. But while you're looking for that one place, you're going to have some multiple no's. So you need to be prepared for that. You need to be prepared to get that elevator pitch going. And yes, a hurricane just hit your area, but we'd like a big place tonight for like 40, 50, 100 people, and hopefully with a roof that doesn't have a hole in it. So again, you do this for a few days, it can also be physically and emotionally draining. Just prepare. There's not going to be the Walmart, there's not going to be Taco Bell or anything that you like. So bring all that in advance. And then some folks just go right into first wave, or some folks try or start a first wave. And then you might see some things that kind of remind you of home. That's okay. But you will also see many, many, many needs. And one day you'll have all the stuff that you'll need to meet those needs, but that day is probably not the first day. And so you have to work your way up. There's going to be lots of needs and little stuff. It can be chaotic, but that's okay. That's why you're here, to bring some order to the chaos of this world that you've entered. So you work the problems one at a time, one at a time. Everyone knows the role, know it. Work in your lane, work your problem, work your problem. Like I said, lots of folks here can share lots of good things. If you got any questions for me, put it in the chat. Otherwise, thanks for being here. We'll talk to you in a moment. And for the moment, back to you, Mike.
All right, appreciate it, Oscar. We're gonna kick it next over to Caitlin to cover planning for us.
All right, can everyone hear me okay?
Yep, we got you.
We're getting a bit of a storm here in Florida, so I do apologize if I cut out. But I'm Caitlin. I'm the new planner for the Jacksonville metro area. I'm stepping in for Sherry tonight. She's deployed in Canada right now. So I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the planning section for tonight's meeting. As we all know, hurricane season, it's upon us. It's here. With hurricane season starting, we have already had our first storm, what we know to be Tropical Storm Alex, after it passed through Florida, causing some flooding in southern Florida. That whole incident was handled wonderfully by Sandy Niles, who ended up creating the ISR report for that. In addition to hurricane season starting, we are also wrapping up an op in Tennessee and in the planning stages of an op in Texas following some tornado touchdowns. But since the last meeting, we have had 4 ISRs created, 2 recon plans approved, 1 Warno approved, 1 Advon approved, 1 op board approved, and 15 MPT meetings. So expect that to pick up a little bit with the start of the hurricane season, and we'll take it as it comes.
All right, appreciate it, Caitlin. We're going to kick it over next to Britton to kind of talk us through our hurricane timeline. It's the big plan that we've all been working on. Britton, what you got?
Right. Hey, guys. I'm Britton. So on a kind of big picture overview, day to day, you guys are the tip of the spear, right? South Branch staff is there to support you. And then there is an operations support branch that is there to support all of the branches, right? And so the OSB put this plan together in the chance that we are going to experience a hurricane. So this is kind of a timeline of what's going on and different things to be thinking about as far as 5 days prior to hurricane making landfall. So this document, I think we can see, is broken down in a few different sections, kind of who's responsible for what. We can see across the top, we are 120 to 96 hours prior to the hurricane making landfall, so minus 5 days. And then in the top right corner, there are 3 colors that kind of reference whether that's an action we should be taking on this day, something to be thinking about, or this is something that should have already been completed. So I'm not going to go through all of this with you. I want to highlight a few things. So 5 days prior to hurricane making landfall, we're going to activate the Emergency Operations Center. And this is a group of people that are going to be helping make decisions. The National Operations Center in Dallas-Fort Worth will most likely be the location where the EOC is set up, but that may or may not be the case. So the EOC is more of a group of people or a concept rather than a place. So if you could differentiate the two, that might help. But basically, we're going to activate the EOC. So what's going to happen is whichever branch is affected, whether that's south, north, or west, staff and key volunteers are going to begin relocating to the EOC, right? We're going to get a plan in place of who's going to be working the EOC, and then we want to figure out who might be available for recon, for advon, for route clearance, and then who is just generally available to support at the EOC. So we can see all that on the left under EOC actions, agency representatives. So this is going to be your operations associate in your area. This may be state level planners. These are key volunteers in your area. And what they're going to do is they're going to move to the state EOC. So it's important that we have that liaison with the affected states. And then logistics is going to start reserving rental vehicles. We know that we're going to need ways to get around. We're going to start determining the status of the route clearance packages. And then we're going to begin some RESL activities and try to figure out who's really going to be available if we have this hurricane happen. So as the timeline advances, we move to 96 to 72 hours prior to landfall. As we can see, some of these colors are changing, right? So the green is something that that has already happened, or that decision should have already been made. The black is things that we need to be thinking about or taking action on. And the red, again, are decisions that we need to make. So, Dev should have already been involved. Marcoms is already going. We're putting together a sit rep, right? We're getting out these daily reports. The EOC should already be staffed. We're sending out calls to action, right? Maybe we didn't get all the answers back on the first day. So mobilization is getting in there and figuring out who's going to be available. We can see the ops associate should already be at the state EOC. We're going to start staging, right? So all of these positions are huge when it comes to being able to move a ton of vehicles around, right? That's an easy way for anybody to be able to plug in and get involved. Supporting the staff at the EOC. And all these decisions, there's a lot of information that needs to go into that. So being able to help contribute to that, there are great opportunities for gray shirts to get involved. So we're figuring out the route clearance package. We've selected a route clearance team, and we're getting them to one of the 2 trailers, right? We know we've got a trailer in Atlanta and a trailer in Dallas. So we're looking to get those CTLs, the compact track loaders, loaded and ready to hit the road. So as we kind of move along in time, we're T-minus 3 days out, right? We want to figure out what kind of partners are out there. We're looking to start mobilizing The recon team, right, where our route clearance teams are hitting the road, they're moving to those locations that are going to be affected by the hurricane. Again, we're still staging vehicles. So we're still moving a lot of stuff, right? So these are great opportunities for gray shirts to get in and be a part of that. All right, so moving on to the T-2 days. Again, we're continuing to stage vehicles. The route clearance team should have already identified and be moving to a staging location, right? We've got recon teams that are ready to get in as soon as the hurricane hits. So we want to make sure that they've got all their equipment. So this is getting kits together and making sure they've got all the resources that they need. We move to 1 day out. This is 24 hours prior to hurricane making landfall. Things we got to be thinking about at this point is that the EOC staff has been running 5 days of long days. So we need to start incorporating a work rest cycle. So this is a great opportunity to plug in and be involved in some of that decision making, right? The route clearance team should be staged prior to this hurricane making landfall. And they want to choose a location that allows them to get in and integrate with local municipalities as quickly as possible, right? The recon team members are ready to just hit the ground running. And if we're at this point, hopefully all our vehicles are staged in a location that allows us to get in and get going after the hurricane has made landfall. And then the 0 day or go day is where, we're ready to get out there and get shit done, right? We're clearing roads for municipalities, for first responders to get in. We're allowing our route clear or our recon teams to get in and get a good assessment of really where the damage took place, right? And throughout all of this, we're communicating with EOCs. We're communicating with our emergency managers across the area. We're trying to get as much information as we can, right? As soon as we know an area that's been impacted, we've got to figure out, if we can set up a fob, and where we can make a greatest impact. And so a lot of people contribute to finding this information, putting a plan together, communicating with all the different teams. And so throughout this whole process, there are a ton of different ways that Gray Shirts can really plug into this and really make an impact. So hurricane hits and we were able to hit the ground running because we took the time to plan and prepare on the front side of this. We're making these decisions ahead of time, and we're able to get in there and make an impact in the community really as quickly as possible. So this was a lot of information. What I want you guys to kind of take from this is that we've kind of thought about a timeline up until hurricane makes landfall. This timeline is going to be available to you. I'll make sure that you get a downloaded version, but it's going to be in this PowerPoint deck. But we do have GSD Day. My apologies there. So I kind of talked about this. We're able to get out there and really make an impact in the community. Thanks, Jim. So this is all going to be available to you. Keep in mind the different colors mean different things. So you're going to see the same thing listed in sections throughout the entire process. It's just going to change colors. So it's a great way to kind of think about written out what you should be doing, 3 days prior to landfall. We don't always get a 5-day notice. So some of this stuff may be condensed. We may have to be running through 3 or 4 days worth of information and decision-making in a very quick process. And then on the other side of that, the hurricane could stall, right? We know that they're unpredictable. It could take a week what we're expecting to take 3 or 4 days. So all of this is kind of a general rule of thumb. It does say a forecast Cat 3 hurricane, but if you look at Ike, right, that hit 14, 15 years ago, it was a hurricane category 2, right, and it did a ton of damage. It was like the 6th most damaging hurricane out there. So it's kind of a rule or a guideline, right, as with anything, that kind of gives us things to think about in the process. And there's always room for improvement. So if you see something that you should be thinking about maybe a little earlier, feel free to send that in for feedback. But you guys should have this available in your notes, and I'll make sure you get kind of an EOC activation timeline document. So I'm going to quit babbling about what to do ahead of time and turn it back over to Jim. So thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate it, Britton. Like Britton said, and like Jeff mentioned in the chat, try to think of this as a movement plan. The time frame is really just for planning purposes. All of this can be adjusted on the fly. So if maybe we don't figure out 5 days in advance that a hurricane's coming, maybe we only figure it out 2 days in advance, and what do we do? So this is highly flexible, highly conformable to the situation at hand. And like Britton was saying, what if the storm stalls out in the Gulf, takes a couple extra days to get in? Again, we can flex with this plan as needed. We're going to kick it off next to Elizabeth to talk about rebuild.
Hey. I can't get off mute.
We got you.
Okay, you can hear
We
me.
hear you.
Okay, it says on my end I'm muted. All right, so I'm covering down for Brandon and the rebuild team today, as they are all super busy. For anybody who's not tracking, their workday starts at 7:30 in the morning, and they work through the hot heat of Houston weather all day long. So this is a bit of a late call for them. But their current lines of effort are here on the screen. Couple call outs just for you guys as we are talking hurricanes. They do have a new client services manager who is working out of the rebuild offices. So if you're there for either a South Texas event or as we get volunteers back into Houston working with rebuild, you will see Brian around. So that's really exciting as they expand their team and continue to expand rebuilding efforts across the South Branch. Couple things that just shout out to them, and as we talk hurricanes, how rebuild incorporates into that is they do often allow us the luxury of using the space either for staging areas or loaning us vehicles as we prepare to roll either recon teams or operations into the field in response to a hurricane. A quick note to everyone, while they do generously allow us to do that, we have one point of contact through our logs team for reaching out to rebuild. So if you're really excited to say, cool, rebuild could help with that, please reach out to your functional lead and let them work the proper channels so that we don't have everyone in South Branch reaching out to them. So with that, I will do a big shout out and thank you to them for always letting us take advantage of their wonderful space for things like our brand new trailer inventory that we're going to be doing over there. But they are always here to assist us when we need it when a storm hits. So that is all for rebuild.
All right, appreciate it, Elizabeth. Next, we'll kick it back to Oscar to cover field readiness.
Thank you, Jim. Hey, welcome to Field Readiness. Basically, what we do, everyone on field readiness teams do, is essentially try to make field leaders ready, people like you. And you can kind of see on the lines of effort the 4 areas that we work around. Our team keeps growing and fantastic. Doug Skillman from the Central Carolinas, welcome to Field Readiness team, sir. And a shout out to Justin from South Florida, who served not on 1, but 2 mission planning teams as a field readiness lead just this month. And so, yep, hurricane season is here, and Justin just got some of that training on the way. Speaking of training, yes, please, you too can get some training. You can see some of the dates. You can see some of the links. Field service. If you want to be in command general staff, you need to know field service. It's a thing. It's cool. It's new. And we've had already 3 workshops. You can see those on the stream channel, and we're gonna have another one here in a couple days. Please sign up if that's your interest. If you're interested to be a planning section chief, please sign up for that course. Happens on Saturday. I get to be one of the instructors. It's going to be good. If you're wondering what the field readiness world is about, 23 June is the onboarding. And then lastly, ICS 300. And I'll camp on this for a moment. ICS 300 is the gateway to command and general staff. There's a class on 7 July, but the deadline is on 26 June. That's why I put 26 June. If it is your interest, this hurricane season, the lead gray shirts in the field as a member of command general staff, please take ICS 300. If you have any questions, speak to your Metro admin, your ops associate, Tracy, or myself. All right, appreciate you all. Thank you. Back to you, Jim.
All right, thanks again, Oscar. We're going to go next to mobilization with Tracy.
Hello to everybody tonight. We are just going to start with some ops event that we supported. 509 gray shirts have been deployed to looks like about 18 ops. We have 377 gray shirts from the South Branch that have been deployed. It's 27% of those are considered deployable of the 12,000 plus that we have currently. And we have 1,300 new gray shirts so far this year, and 248 of them are deployable. We continue to build the leader pipeline to grow our team, so we continue to look for volunteer leaders if anybody is interested. Email us at mobilization@teamrubicon.org and we can get you to the right place. Currently, Claudia is out and Brent is covering for her, but our point of contacts mostly stay the same. So it's serve@teamrubicon.usa.org for general mobilization questions. If it's CNG or operational mobilization questions or support you need, it would be mobilization@teamrubicon.usa.org. And then you can email myself, Brenda, or Jeremy Carter is the mobilization lead. So you can always email him. Back to you, Jim.
All right. Thanks, Tracy. Next up, logistics with Anthony.
Good evening, everyone. So this picture right here is a current picture of where we have all of our trailers. We do have 2 caches that that don't have trailers, and they're in Austin and Arkansas currently. Some of our lines of effort we are still trying to source one of our route clearance vehicles. The truck and trailer for the HE route clearance package is in Atlanta. And we're continuing to work on building the austere recon kits. As you can see here are the different locations on where we're going to have the austere recon kits. Next slide. Right here is going to be where we have our tech kits. We have a number of them out there. And so our leader updates, we are always looking for logs leads in Florida. So if you know anyone that wants to be a logs leader in Florida, definitely get them in contact with us. And one important reminder that hits everyone. As you're beginning to plan training events, try and prepare for hurricane season. Please involve your logs team anytime you need vehicle, swag, supplies, etc. That's it, Jim.
All right. Thanks, Anthony. We'll kick it over to Jeremy next for comms.
Good evening, team. Biggest lines of effort we have going on right now is how we're going to integrate our branch comm teams from all 3 branches into and with the Marcoms team as we get into hurricane season and ensure that we get that documentation out to our donors, our gray shirts, and our dev teams so that they can raise money. That's the biggest line of effort we got with the comms team. We're recruiting comms leaders. So if you know anybody out there that's a photographer, videographer, is good at media relations, has some idea or wants to get into social media or comms event, please have them apply in roll call. Hit me up and let me know that they've applied so that we can fast track that. The other pieces here that we put up here every month, hey, there's the TR story form. You want to tell your story, get it out there, let the donors know why you serve. Also, if you take photos, there's a link there for you to upload your photos and where the media assets are. So as those photos get vetted, you can go in there and see all of these photos as they're getting put into the media asset management piece. Currently, our branch comms lead is a vacant piece. Our comms lead is doing other things with her family and personal life. So we're currently looking for a branch comms lead to help lead the branch. Other than that, there's the points of contact that we have on the screen there for the different pieces. If you have any questions, reach out. We're here to help. That's all I've got. Thanks. Back to you, Jim.
All right. Appreciate it, Jeremy. We'll go next to Jeff with training.
Good evening, everybody. So as with everybody else, we are in full swing preparing for hurricane season. We are off to a fantastic start. So far in our disaster training camps this year, we have had some extremely good numbers. We have greatly increased our bench with our Sawyer cadre as well as our heavy equipment operators. For those of you who don't know what a RASCO is, it's a 3-class event. It's Recon Advon Site Survey and Core Ops that's held all at the same time over the course of a weekend. It's a fantastic event. We've had a number of those so far this year, resulting in 24 new Recon Advon personnel, 27 site survey, and 21 core ops trained gray shirts. There is another one coming up. If you are in the Georgia, Lower South Carolina, or North Florida area, or even in Alabama, there is a RASCO coming up in Eastman, Georgia, the 25th to the 26th, that will also have an instructor one. So if you're interested in being an instructor, please sign up. As Jeff alluded to earlier, the big Jeff, we did just complete a hurricane tabletop exercise out at the Knock in Grand Prairie, Texas. It was a fantastic event, probably one of the better events that I've been to in my time in TR. We discussed the doctrine and lessons learned from past hurricanes and how we can make the entire team better. I look forward to getting some of those lessons learned out to everybody as soon as we have everything assembled. Training stats we have increased in every single area, as we've already talked about with our RASCOs and DTCs. For leader updates, I am extremely happy to say that we have brought on Derek Poor as the Kentucky and Tennessee training lead. I expect great things out of him, and I'm super excited for Kate and her team. Sadly, though, we do have to say bye to Jeanette Davidson-Mayer and Lisa Dullinger. They have both served the training department extremely well, and their loss will be greatly felt. Pending any questions, it's back to you, Jim.
All right, thanks, Jeff. With the little B, we're gonna kick it over to Jen with membership.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Good to see y'all. So for membership, our star outreacher was everyone on the membership team. And just a reminder to everybody that storms bring an uptick in signups. So keep your eyes out for that. And I'll kind of flip over there to the leader updates with regards to that. Metro admins, make sure that if you do not have a membership person on your team, that you are aware that outreach falls to you. And again, with storms, big sexy storms bring lots of people that want to do big sexy things. So let's keep on top of those numbers as storm season ramps up. Leader updates, welcoming Jeannie Remberger is taking over as the South Branch Deputy Membership Leader as I am stepping down. And we want to welcome Sean Neild of Jacksonville, Florida to Metro membership. So welcome him and send some extra special love to Jeannie. She's going to be amazing, and I will miss being on the team, but I will still be around. You can't get rid of me that easy. Metro admins, with what I said before, if you need help or you know someone that's interested in leadership, but they can't deploy, let the membership team know. So down there in points of contact, you've got Laura, Derek, and Jeannie that you can reach out to directly. And the South Branch Gray Shirt support is the branch level membership leads are on that on a regular basis. Leadership onboarding, if you weren't aware, is live. Check roll call for your functional sessions. Memberships is on the 27th. Love you all. I'll be in the background.
All right, appreciate it, Jen. Thanks for everything you have done for the membership team. I know you're not going to be too far if they have questions for you. So thanks again. Next, we're going to kick it over to John DeToma for finance.
Hi, everybody. John DeToma here, finance. A lot of talk about things that are going to cost money, but I don't see any finance things noticed in this planning phase somewhere. Surely we need something in there that says finance. other than somebody calling, say, hey, I'm here, I need to pay for a rental vehicle. But anyway, yeah, we get involved with just about everybody on this call in one way or another. We're currently updating all the finance documentation in preparation for the hurricane season. We've taken to heart some of the comments from some of the ICs and other folks about sometimes our instructions get too detailed and, you know, folks don't like to read them, but stuff that's put in there is valuable. You have to read them sometime or you're going to get a call from one of us saying, hey, man, what's up? We got problems. So to help align this, we're hosting another Concur class, a one-on-one class coming up this Thursday. We've had a lot of people, you know, with the inflation, they finally decided, hey, you know, they're offering to pay me some POV mileage. How do I get it? Well, you got to belong to Concur, and then you've got to be able to initiate a report. And this class will tell you how to do that. We're going to record it. It's going to be about an hour and sometimes an hour and 10 minutes in length. And we'll post it into a file within SharePoint that everybody in TR has access, whether you're a leader or a non-leader. You will be able to have access to that video so that you can pace yourself and try to learn. And as you go along, you notice our points of contact. We've got about 6-7 people here. We're all available by phone or email to get a hold of us. So we're always open for business. We're seeking key gray shirts that might be comfortable with doing some Concur report work for other gray shirts that are having difficulty trying to work their way through it. It's a little bit scary when you first sign up, but once you get into it and you do the report once or twice, it's usually a pretty easy deal. So stand by for future information. I think Cindy's going to try to develop a DocuSign form that folks may be interested in being a support person or a mentor in the Concur report processing area. You don't have to be an expert, just know how to work the Concur report. And then we'll take it from there. So that's something that's going to come within the next week or two. If you haven't filed your expense report for the TR Leadership Conference, folks, you're way late. The rules say 10 days after you return home, you're supposed to have your report in, and we're way beyond 10 days. So for those of you that haven't done it, let's get it done. And then also, PEX card holders, whether you're applying for a new PEX or getting a replacement PEX, because yours is coming up to be closed out because of expiration date of the card. As soon as you get your card, there's also some notification that is sent out by National Accounting on how to get your card activated. It becomes, when you get it, it's inactive. That means you cannot use it. So don't wait till something is planned for you to get deployed and use your card. As soon as you get it activated. And I'm going to post in the chat a little blurb that shows you what to do to get your card activated. It takes you about 3 minutes to do an email, and within the same day, typically, you'll have your card activated. So when somebody calls, say, hey, you want to get on a recon team? You bet. Do you have a PEX card? Ready to go. That's what we like to hear. But other than you know, not having it, it causes a problem. So get it activated. It puts you in a better place to be assigned to
Hey,
you know, recon teams and such.
Brother John.
Yes.
So I think you're preaching to the lead team, and we will make sure that all of what you're talking about is taken care of. So, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if there's
So anyway,
missing, one of your teams are missing, then let them reach out. But yeah.
gotcha. Anyway, points of contacts are listed there, and you can see the activity that we've been doing since the first of the year. So with that, I'll step aside. Thank you much.
All right. Thanks for the input, John. I really appreciate it. We are going to go next to our well-being team with Apri.
Hey guys, although John, as much as I love well-being, financial are the group that gets my primary attention. Got to make sure y'all are happy.
Holy shit. Apri is on board.
All right, so well-being, guys, we have officially switched over from wellness to well-being. You'll start to see that name coming out in some of the communication and email and documentation and all that stuff as we make the switch over. So some things you'll see well-being working on over the next couple of months is we're going to be helping out with the post-deployment surveys and just making sure that people coming back from the ops have any resources that they may need going forward. We are doing the mental health Wednesdays. So there's one coming up in DFW tomorrow, the Dog Days of Dallas, where we will be meeting at a dog-friendly outdoor space. So you'll see more of those coming around the corner, hopefully in your different areas. This doesn't have to be a mental health related one. It's more of just promoting that mental health aspect of being social. So if that's something you want to do in your area, absolutely talk to your Metro people. I'm happy to give suggestions, but these are just socials that are bringing people together. And then for your fun mental health fact, one of my favorite coping skills to give clients when they're just going through some challenging times or having some anxiety is to change your core temperature. This is really a great one to do if you're on an op and you're starting to feel any of that anxiety or depression or anger or anything like that. Right now it's hot, so we are all feeling pretty hot when we step outside. So if you can do something like hold some ice cubes in your hand or put an ice pack on your chest, anything like that will trick your brain into trying to figure out why you are suddenly cold, and it'll help you get out of your anxiety, panic, depression, anger, etc. So that's well-being for you guys.
All right. Thanks, Apri. Next, I'm going to kick it over to Brittany to welcome the newest member to our team.
Thanks, Jim. Who is this man? It's official. We have Britton Woolsey in the building, and he's going to be our new South Branch planner. And I can't even express to him how lucky he is that he onboarded leading into a tabletop exercise. Oh, and also has this huge bench of planners that are well trained around him. So I don't think that he could have been luckier just walking into this arena. So Britton, for those of you that don't know him, he lives in Hurst, Texas, which is essentially right down the street from the NOC. He is a Coast Guard veteran who carried a dual specialization in search and rescue operations and as an avionics electrical technician. Say that 20 times fast. But yeah, he's been in the gauntlet when it comes to search support at the NOC. As a planner, he also stepped in as the DFW city admin. So he has more than earned his shirt. We stole him from the Red Cross. We're not sorry about it. And really, he's a great guy. He walked you through some of that EOC activation timeline. And really, I just hope that we can all unify as a team and continue that momentum and get through this hurricane season together as one happy family. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you, Brenda, if you've got any words for us.
Oh, great. I didn't prepare a speech. Thanks, Brittany. Very kind words. Yeah. Like she said, I've been around a minute or two. I'm excited to change my role just slightly. I am stepping into a staff position there, which means I'm here to support you guys. So if there's anything I can do in any dynamic, I'm happy to help. So you guys know how to get a hold of me if you need to. Otherwise, I'm here standing by. So thanks, Brittany. I appreciate that, but I won't take up any more of your time. So we'll turn it back over to Jim. Thanks, guys.
Oh, wait, last thing, super important. I have two rappers on the team. So I've got a Shawty B because Jeff Byard and Jeff Branham, it's a little bit too much. So he said, who's shorter between the two of you? So that's his street name, Shawty B. And then B-Dub, because Brittany, it's out of control. You all know it. So he's going to need some street cred at some point. So we might as well dub him now. That's all I got. Back to you, Jim.
Thanks, Brittany.
All right, appreciate it, y'all. Yeah, that has not caused any confusion at all in the last week. So on the topic of new team members, we do have 2 open positions right now, 2 leased employee open positions for the branch. So if you yourself or someone you know may be interested in joining us as a leased employee in a communications role or in a mobilization role, those are posted on the Team Rubicon website, and they are linked here in the slideshow. I think Brittany already shared the slideshow. So if you're interested or know someone who is, please go on in there and apply today. Next up is recognition time. So I'm going to keep this maybe a little bit shorter than I originally planned, but tonight we're going to recognize a gray shirt that started out in October of 2020 during Outcrying Eagle as one of our finance coordinators. They also ended up joining up as a logistics coordinator in Houston and has since transitioned to primarily just focusing back on finance again. So during Hurricane Ida, they kept track of all of our finance functions for numerous recon advon teams, route clearance teams, and 3 different FOBs. Right after all of that was getting going, our branch finance lead ended up becoming ill with COVID, and this gray shirt stepped up, really helped out the entire team, and ensured that all of our branch finance actions were still being taken care of while still staying in daily communications and guiding the entire branch. So somehow, in all of their free time outside of all this, they've also assisted the international team with deciphering, tons of different receipts in foreign languages. This gray shirt embodies the Your Mother's a Donor cultural value, and they aren't afraid to step into the arena and get shit done. So tonight, we would love to give a very special shout out, a very special thank you to Cindy Barrett. Thank you so much for all you do, not only on the finance team, but just helping everybody out in the branch. I believe she is still on the call. Cindy, I don't know if you want to come off mute and say a few words or not, but the floor is yours.
For once, I'm struck dumb. Thank you.
Thank you. We really appreciate it, Cindy. All right. Next, we are going to move to our leadership wrap up. And so I will kick it over to Drew and go ahead and drop the slides.
All right. First, y'all, I got to say, I am shocked that on a veteran-led humanitarian organization, I'm the first one to say happy birthday, Army, today. Where's everybody's heads at? Still the biggest and best fighting force the world has ever known. If it was the Marine Corps birthday, you guys would have known about it last week, all this week, next week, because they never shut up, proving that the Army still the quiet professionals. So yeah, just reflecting throughout this call as we talked through hurricane season, and really just floored by how far the organization has come, right? Our first real hurricane response wasn't even a domestic one. It was responding to Super Typhoon Haiyan in the Philippines. But I mean, hurricanes has been part of Team Rubicon's bread and butter for a decade now. And we keep responding to these big storms. It keeps breaking process. It keeps building new capabilities. And it keeps finding new ways to challenge us to grow and improve as an organization. And in the very short life of this organization, the way that we have continued to grow and respond to these things every single year is one of the things that makes me most proud of being a gray shirt. All of the work that this entire team, every volunteer who attended a training, every volunteer leader who went through onboarding, every volunteer who became an instructor and is now building the bench, every one of you guys has contributed to making us bigger, better, faster, more prepared for this next storm that's around the corner. It's really just incredible because these are full spectrum events, right? from our initial teams on the ground, our recon and route clearance teams who are there, within hours of landfall, to, coming in years later with our rebuild and our client services program to still help people get back on their feet afterwards. These things really touch every aspect of the organization in a way that, other disasters can and may, but not with the regularity or the intensity that these storms do. So, we tried to emphasize throughout this call sort of organizational posture, different things that we're asking for you guys to think about and think through now. We still have time to think because as Jeff has reminded us a lot over the last couple of weeks and months, time is the one commodity we don't get back. And so, I hope that we have answered for all of you guys the question of what should I be doing when the storm comes, right? We know what the organization is going to be doing, what the organization is going to be gearing towards. We know what the needs are that we are going to have for it. So the question for all of you guys is really going to be, where do you plug in? And that's going to depend a lot on you, right? First of all, you could potentially be in the impact zone, right? We look at the entire Gulf Coast, big chunk of the eastern seaboard. So we live right in prime territory to get schwacked by these guys. And if you are in the impact zone, the answer of what you do for Team Rubicon is nothing. Please don't take away from taking care of your family, taking care of your properties, taking care of your homes, because your priority is ensuring, that you come through the storm as well as you can so that you can continue to assist us in the future. But that being said, if you do have bandwidth, of course, we will plug you in where we can. But, if you are able to travel within those windows that were outlined, we are going to be needing people with your skills to get into the field. Like Oscar kind of outlined for us, it's a sort of start and stop process to get people out there, just because we're trying to answer every single question we have about, needs and where to plug in our resources. And so sometimes that means that we're inelegant in how we stage and deploy those. But just know that we need you, right? We need every single person here and the skill sets that you have in the face of that storm. And if you are not available to travel, right, we still need you guys. I know that there's people on this call who have not deployed in the last couple of years, but I could not imagine the organization functioning nearly so well as it had without their support, from our planning cells, our situation cells who drive us forward, our mobilization teams, our finance teams, all of these guys working very remote things. We would not be able to function without them. Our membership teams who are taking these new inquiries and turning them into deployable gray shirts. So not being able to get in the field doesn't mean you're not able to make an impact. And so, we know where those opportunities are. We know where those needs are. You guys heard a lot of them tonight. Plug into them, take advantage of them. So I guess like my closing thought before I kick it up to Son is, we're asking you guys to be ready, right? Team Rubicon is ready. We are asking you guys to be part of that readiness posture. That doesn't mean that, keep your bag packed and wait by the door right now. We're still probably over a month out. We don't really typically see the really bad storms until August, September. But it means that, you've thought this through, you've taken the steps that were outlined during this call, and that, when the need is there, you will be looking to get out there. Be professional. Remember that these storms change lives, right? Permanently. These storms will alter the trajectory of someone's life. And we don't know who, we don't know when or how, but we know it's going to happen. So the maturity that this team has in dealing with these events continues to impress me. Also, just the professionals and being able to distinguish, what is the signal to noise. Not every tropical storm that happens means that we need to batten down the hatches and spin up the whole machine. But it's all worth us paying attention to. So being able to work through that data and sift and support it, that's where your skill sets are so critical. And then last, but but certainly far from least, is to have fun. And I don't say have fun to undercut the seriousness that I just talked about. That's still very much there. But I strongly believe that when you have, a good team doing good work together, and you are winning, there's nothing more fun than that sense of accomplishment that you get out of engaging in that project. And, it's what we get every time we go into these storms. It is some of the hardest work we will do. It's incredibly stressful. But the reward of getting to work with this team really speaks for itself. So come along with us on our hurricane season adventure. I'll kick it up to San for closing thoughts.
Hey, thanks, Drew. Couldn't say I just say ditto, because I think that you said everything so eloquent and so poignant to what we do. First, I just really want to congratulate Cindy for receiving the recognition and for the great work that you're doing in supporting the finance team and all the gray shirts that get all the benefits from your great work on the finance team. I also want to thank all the presenters. I've been on a lot of calls in my career, and sometimes I nod off, doing a call. But I have to say, the things that you guys put out, the run of show was just excellent. And Jim and Brittany and the rest of the team that assisted with putting this run of show and the PowerPoints together, everything that was on each slide was so important. From, Oscar giving us lessons learned, to talking about the field leadership, to the lovely, and I love those numbers on the training side that Jeff put out there. That's just so impressive. And also with Britton going through that timeline. The timeline is so important when you're talking about when we activate, and the TTX and the actual event that we had last week really, brought to me and my awareness on how impactful understanding what everyone's role. And we know that we have that saying that, we have a role, know your role, and get the job done, or as we say so eloquently, get shit done. So, when we were doing that at the NOC, when you're working with from the unified coordination group to the EOC leadership, to all the different departments, and that EOC is made up of so many teams. That's why I love when they start out from that top, that unified, because everything takes a whole team, and not just a Southbridge team like that was said earlier by all the presenters, including Jeff, that what we want to do is to create standardization, unification, collaboration, not only with the South Branch team, but how do we partner with MoBops, Markham Finance, all the different entities that are part of the EOCs. And we all know the EOCs is just not where TR is housed, but also those state EOCs that are quite important for our branch associates to populate those so they can be that voice for us on site and communicate us so we know what's going on the ground. But for me, again, listening to all the details and all the things that you guys have put out in this presentation, it shows me the dedication that you guys have. And it's not only when we have a disaster or we're responding or we're doing some long-term recovery, but we're ready at any moment's time whenever anything happens. So we know really right now there's not truly blue skies, because we're having all these tornadoes, all these floodings, and all these things that are happening prior to the hurricane season. So by what you guys have presented tonight and the way you guys have carried yourself throughout the times you have been gray shirts, you know that preparation, prior planning prevents piss poor performance, and you guys embody that, and I love it. I want to cut it short. I know that we had a long call today, and I want you guys to start nodding off from what I'm saying. But again, I really appreciate what you guys are doing. Britton is doing a great job. I'm so glad he's on his team. Guys, those 2 new roles that are out there, those least position, please share that on your social media, whether it's Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram. Put those positions out there. Those are really key roles to make us successful within the South Branch and throughout Team Rubicon. So that's what I'm going to close on, Jim. So I'm going to turn it back to you. Again, thanks, everyone.
All right, appreciate it, Son. I'm gonna go ahead and stop the recording.